Snow White is actually written by Greta Gerwig, who also wrote Barbie and Lady Bird and Princess Ha, and we've been talking about her a lot recently because of Barbie, but also she's one of my favorite writers and directors. I've liked her since high school, so this pains me because what she is doing with Snow White seems absolutely terrible.
Dude, I trusted you. I trusted her.
Because she's involved, I want to believe that this movie will have some redeeming qualities. Will I actually watch it? Probably not. But I hope that it does for those of you who do watch it. But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there's anything redeeming about this project whatsoever. Now, I am sure that we have all seen this viral clip, but let's just watch again.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my god, it's a really incredible story. You're making this girl boss story based on an important father figure. Her father tells her to be brave and strong. Don't you think that there's something redeeming about men in this story? That just stood out to me. This is the first time I noticed that, even though I've watched this like 6 times now.
Just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much.
Recent developments have added a new layer of intrigue to the Snow White saga, particularly in the ongoing rivalry between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler. Brett Cooper, a well-known YouTube personality, has found herself at the center of attention, not only for her role in the Daily Wire's competing adaptation of Snow White, but also due to the controversy surrounding her abrupt departure from the company. Reports suggest Cooper was allegedly forced out under hostile circumstances, though she has remained publicly silent, fueling speculation about the Daily Wire's financial struggles and the increasingly erratic behavior of CEO Jeremy Boring. Brett Cooper's casting as Snow White has been celebrated as a triumph by fans eager for a return to the timeless magic and romance that made the story a classic. Her approach, rooted in the original narrative's values, has drawn widespread praise, much to the chagrin of Rachel Zegler. Zegler, who faced intense backlash for her modernized, feminist reinterpretation of the character, has not held back in her criticism of Cooper's adaptation, dismissing her detractors as outdated. Zegler's fiery comments have only intensified the controversy. This isn't just a tale of two Snow Whites, it's a cultural clash exposing deep divides in Hollywood and beyond. While Cooper's portrayal is being hailed as a breath of fresh air, Zegler's version continues to polarize audiences. Meanwhile, the Daily Wire's financial troubles add another layer of drama, making the battle for Snow White more compelling than ever. The bigger question remains, did Disney go too far in rewriting a beloved classic to fit today's cultural narratives, or is Brett Cooper's traditional take exactly what audiences have been craving? One thing is certain, this story is just getting started.
The one in that trailer, and I'm still like so excited and I get chills. There I am, Gary, there I am! The whole thing is just so cool. The moment when the music starts to crescendo as I turn around, when I first heard the music, I was like, stop right there, that's just so amazing. Funnily enough, I recorded the song without hearing the rest of the trailer's score, so I had no idea what it would sound like. I had no idea what Jeremy and his team were envisioning, and he was actually writing the song and writing the music in between takes while he was directing Pendragon. And we were texting back and forth trying to figure out the right key and what it was going to sound like, and he was sending me messages like, I'm so sorry, I'm in the middle of, a glacier valley in Italy and my songs aren't going through, but we figured it out.
Compounding the drama, the Daily Wire is reportedly grappling with significant financial troubles. Internal whispers suggest that CEO Jeremy Boring has been frantically bugging the office, possibly in an attempt to address the brewing crisis. This turmoil adds yet another layer of intrigue to Brett Cooper's transition into her new role as Snow White in a rival production. The timing of these developments couldn't be more significant. As Cooper steps into the spotlight for her portrayal of Snow White, the tension between her and her former employer raises questions about the behind-the-scenes dynamics at the Daily Wire. Could this upheaval affect her ability to fully embrace her new role, or will it only solidify her as a resilient figure in this high-stakes Hollywood showdown? Meanwhile, the Daily Wire's struggles cast a shadow over its ambitious push into the entertainment industry. With Cooper's Snow White project gaining traction and praise for its faithfulness to the original tale, the question remains, Can the Daily Wire recover from its internal challenges and maintain its foothold in the cultural landscape? To fully grasp the scope of this unfolding saga, let's take a step back and examine what led to this moment.
I'm a narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, dude, so much has gone on. Trailers have come out. Like, that's crazy pants. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Right. Every time that a celebrity gets like one DM that says KYS, they're like, I'm getting death threats! Someone save me, but not a prince! Don't
Anybody but a prince.
Don't you dare save me.
Well, she like when somebody, she's like, I'm getting these death threats, and the cops were like, well, save yourself. Like,
yeah, you're a girl boss, aren't you?
I saw that interview. Save yourself.
Only intensified the contrast between the two actresses. While Zegler's approach to Snow White seemed to challenge the very essence of the original fairy tale, Cooper's portrayal has been embraced as a return to its timeless charm. On the surface, this could be dismissed as a clash of creative visions, but a closer look suggests something deeper. Zegler's reaction appears to be less about defending artistic integrity and more about managing a high-stakes competition for public approval. Once positioned as Disney's next big star, Zegler now faces a reputational crisis after her dismissive comments about the original Snow White alienated fans. Meanwhile, Cooper, an outsider to traditional Hollywood and a product of a politically charged media platform, has stepped into the role with genuine enthusiasm for the classic tale. Her rising popularity and the overwhelmingly positive reception of her adaptation highlight a shifting audience sentiment, one that favors preserving the story's original magic over modern reinventions. As the debate rages on, the battle for Snow White has become more than just a creative dispute. It's a cultural moment that reflects deeper divides in Hollywood and beyond. Also reflects a broader ideological battle playing out in Hollywood. Her portrayal of Snow White, which sought to modernize the character with feminist themes and a departure from the traditional fairy tale romance, has alienated many fans who cherish the original. Meanwhile, Cooper's faithfulness to the classic story has resonated with audiences longing for a return to the timeless charm of old-school Disney storytelling. Zegler's dismissive attitude, paired with her admission that she only watched the original film once and hated it, has further fueled skepticism about her suitability for the role. In contrast, Cooper's clear admiration for the source material and her commitment to embodying Snow White as originally envisioned have won her widespread support. The tension between the two actresses seems to go beyond creative differences, hinting at a deeper fear of irrelevance on Zegler's part. Her defensiveness in interviews and her criticisms of Cooper suggest an unease about being overshadowed, not just by another Snow White, but by someone who isn't even a traditional Hollywood insider. At its core, this controversy is more than just a rivalry between two actresses. It's a reflection of the growing divide between Hollywood's modern reimaginings and audiences who crave the nostalgia of classic storytelling. As Cooper's adaptation continues to gain momentum, Zegler's response will likely shape not only her own legacy, but also the broader conversation about the direction of entertainment in the years to come. Zegler's stance reflects a deeper divide in storytelling philosophy, one that pits modern reinterpretations against a commitment to preserving timeless narratives. While she envisions Snow White as a fearless, independent leader in line with Hollywood's push for contemporary reinventions, Cooper embraces the character's classic roots, resonating with audiences who cherish the original tale's themes of love and innocence. Rather than engaging in a thoughtful discussion about creative direction, Zegler's criticisms of Cooper appear reactionary, driven by a mix of rivalry, insecurity, and a struggle to reconcile her artistic choices with public perception. In attempting to delegitimize Cooper's adaptation, Zegler has ironically reinforced Cooper's appeal, positioning her as a champion for those who feel modern Hollywood has lost touch with the stories that made it great.
And welcome to the Brett Cooper Show. I am so happy that you guys found me over here on this new channel. I am so excited to start this new chapter with you guys. We have been hard at work behind the scenes, literally boots on the ground, me and my 80-year-old neighborhood grandpa putting shiplap up on the ceilings to cover up my 90s popcorn ceilings that I thought you guys would not find aesthetically pleasing on a set. We're literally in a room at my house. We put this all together. Anyway, I am so excited to bring this new show to you and show you guys what we have been working on. So my goal with this new show is to foster understanding, to go deeper and extract substance in the stories and issues that matter most to us, the issues that impact us on a daily personal.
Rachel Zegler may have once seen herself as the definitive Snow White, but recent developments have left her completely overshadowed. While she faces relentless backlash for openly mocking the 1937 Disney classic, calling it weird and outdated, dismissing Prince Charming as a stalker, and boasting that her version would abandon traditional fairy tale themes, Brett Cooper's sudden rise as a rival Snow White has dramatically shifted the narrative. Unlike Zegler, Cooper has fully embraced the original story, resonating with audiences frustrated by Hollywood's attempts to modernize beloved classics. The controversy deepened when Disney announced that the live-action remake would replace the iconic Seven Dwarfs with a diverse group of magical bandits, a decision that alienated even industry insiders. Zegler's dismissive attitude toward the film's legacy, including rolling her eyes when asked about honoring the original, only fueled the criticism, making what should have been a career-defining role a PR disaster. Meanwhile, Cooper's faithfulness to the classic tale has positioned her as a refreshing alternative, turning what was once a simple casting debate into a high-stakes battle over the future of storytelling in Hollywood. Actress, wearing the iconic red bow, and the contrast between the two adaptations became impossible to ignore. Disney's attempt to modernize Snow White had already alienated many fans, but Zegler's dismissive attitude toward the original film only made matters worse. Her admission that she had only watched it once and found it unrelatable reinforced the perception that she had little respect for the beloved classic, forcing Disney into damage control. The backlash grew so intense that the studio delayed the film's release to 2025, a move widely seen as a sign of behind-the-scenes trouble, with rumors swirling that Disney was scrambling to rework the project to avoid another The Marvel-style box office disaster. Then, just as Zegler's Snow White seemed to be unraveling, Brett Cooper entered the scene with Snow White and the Evil Queen, a rival adaptation that embraced the traditional fairy tale, complete with a faithful heroine, an actual prince, and none of the drastic reinventions that had angered Disney's core audience. What began as a simple casting decision had now evolved into a full-blown cultural battle, with two vastly different visions of Snow White competing for the hearts of audiences. Firm stances. Her departure.
I'm also really tired. I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats. And maybe that's a weird takeaway.
Even more bad news for Disney's Snow White remake coming out next year.
I'm a narcissist.
There's another Snow White movie competing with it. It's called Snow White and the Evil Queen, and the producer promises to be more faithful to the spirit of the original animated classic.
Walt once said about Snow White, to me, I thought it was the perfect story. Unfortunately, the company Disney founded doesn't agree with their founder.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot interview talking about this dumbass new Snow White live-action movie is so funny. Everyone working on this movie seems to hate the original. Why didn't we just make a brand new movie? I don't know, Jack. I ask that every single time I do one of these episodes. I would really, really love to know. There's a couple of TikToks. I mean, they've been all over my For You page right now, which I really appreciate.
Adriana Caselotti walked so that you could run, Miss Ma'am.
This role would not exist for you if that role had not existed for her in 1937. I know that you've rewritten it, and it's going to be about a Snow White that don't need no man to save her. Did you ever stop to think that in this day and age, that is exactly what we want? There are women in this world who want that fairy tale because all they've known is the exact opposite. And there are women who don't want to hear about rescuing themselves because they do it all the time. You are talking down on the first full-length animated feature in history. Generations upon generations, decades upon decades of Snow White being Snow White. The way you're stomping around complaining, you're acting like a toddler. You are a toddler.
It's such a good TikTok. Everything she said is so accurate, right down to saying women do not want to rescue themselves, because that's what we do literally every single day. Thank you, feminism. Thank you very, very much. Maybe we don't want to see that in a movie.
From the Daily Wire only added another layer of intrigue to the Snow White showdown, as she transitioned from political commentator to leading actress in a rival adaptation of the classic tale. While Disney's Snow White struggled under the weight of controversy, backlash, and delays, Cooper's version was gaining momentum as the faithful retelling fans had been craving. The contrast was undeniable. Zegler's modernized remake, criticized for abandoning the original's themes, versus Cooper's adaptation, which embraced the story's timeless charm. However, Cooper's rise wasn't without complications, as speculation swirled over her abrupt exit from the Daily Wire. Some believed financial troubles within the company played a role, while others pointed to ideological clashes, noting that Cooper often remained silent on divisive political topics while her former colleagues took strong positions. Whether her departure was voluntary or not, it fueled further intrigue around her new role, making her version of Snow White not just a movie, but a symbol of the ongoing battle between traditional storytelling and Hollywood's relentless push for reinvention.
Clip 5.
Admission that she found the original film unrelatable, and her dismissal of Prince Charming as a stalker have only intensified the backlash. Fans who grew up cherishing Snow White as a timeless fairy tale feel alienated by her reimagining, viewing it as an unnecessary departure from what made the story endure for generations. Cooper's faithful adaptation, on the other hand, has only amplified this criticism, serving as proof that a traditional Snow White can still resonate with modern audiences. Her performance, rooted in the character's original virtues of love, kindness, and resilience, has been embraced as a refreshing alternative to Hollywood's ongoing trend of revisionist storytelling. As a result, rather than simply being frustrated with Disney's changes, many fans now see Zegler's interpretation as a direct rejection of what they loved about Snow White, making Cooper's portrayal not just a film role, but a cultural counterpoint to Hollywood's modernized remakes. Debates comparing the two actresses, with many fans expressing frustration over what they see as Disney's disregard for the classics in favor of modern ideological messaging. Cooper's reverence for Snow White has only intensified the backlash against Zegler, positioning her as the preferred alternative for audiences who feel alienated by Hollywood's trend of reimagining beloved stories. The stark contrast between Cooper's heartfelt embrace of the original tale and Zegler's dismissive attitude has turned what was once a casting decision into a cultural flashpoint. As fans continue to rally behind Cooper, praising her as a guardian of Snow White's legacy, Zegler finds herself increasingly on the defensive, with her version of the film now symbolizing a broader industry shift that many longtime Disney fans resent. The stark contrast between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler has fueled an even greater backlash against Zegler's modernized Snow White, with Cooper emerging as a symbol of resistance against Hollywood's relentless push to reinvent beloved classics. Cooper's grounded, optimistic demeanor stands in direct opposition to Zegler's defensive and often dismissive responses to criticism, making the divide between them even more apparent. While Cooper embraces the timeless values of Snow White, humility, kindness, and reverence for the story's legacy, Zegler's remarks, such as calling aspects of the original film creepy and outdated, have only alienated longtime fans. This public perception gap has turned Cooper's interpretation into more than just a performance. It's become a cultural statement, a rallying point for those disillusioned with Hollywood's trend of modernizing at the expense of authenticity. For audiences yearning for nostalgia and sincerity, Cooper's Snow White offers a breath of fresh air, while Zegler's version increasingly feels like an unwanted reinvention. By faithfully honoring the original story, Cooper has inadvertently created a new standard, one against which Zegler's version is being judged and, in the eyes of many fans, found lacking.
Has announced her exit from the Daily Wire. Listen, just from the very beginning, obviously everyone kind of knows the backstory. Last couple of weeks, there's just been some rumors floating around. Some people thought the rumors were ridiculous that she was leaving. Other people were saying that there was a lot of friction that was happening in the background at the Daily Wire. What we know for a fact is that Brett Cooper did in fact announce her exit from the Daily Wire on Tuesday. While I was on a plane over to London, I had no Wi-Fi, so I landed and it was just an explosion of text messages. And, you know, I think because the exit came after there were so many rumors floating, people then assumed that all of the rumors were true. There were rumors that her best friend or her maid of honor in her wedding, which is true, obviously, Reagan Conrad would be taking over her show. And people were trying to deduce whether or not that meant that there was a lot of drama in the background. The Spectator did a summary. They're obviously quite respected. And they went through and clawed through all of the internet innuendo and noticed some things. Obviously, one big thing that has been noticed on the internet is that Brett seems to have deleted all of the photos that she had of her and her maid of honor from her profile. So that obviously signals to people that maybe some of that innuendo was true. And then the other aspect, which I was not even aware of until I read this article on The Spectator, was that apparently there was some movement. This is such a Gen Z thing, but I guess they were commenting on all of Brett's posts or something and telling her to wear blue and on her last day if she's not allowed to talk about what happened. And then she wore blue. So who knows if she wore blue because it's a normal color to wear and I wear blue probably twice a week, or if she was trying to signal something. Anyways, the long conclusion of this is, as far as separations go, it appears to be as amicable as it can be. She made the announcement. It was quite sad. She did seem like she was upset in it. And then it kind of cut to Jeremy Boring, the CEO. He said nice things about her. And unless she wants to contribute something else or he wants to contribute something else, I don't think there's any reason to look further into it because everybody is moving on in their lives. And that gets us to the next point. Everyone's like, what will happen to Brett Cooper? Brett Cooper is going to be absolutely fine. I mean, beyond fine. Frankly, by the time I hit the ground, I must have had, and I am not kidding, 25 messages from people from all walks of my life asking me, can I have a contact with Brett Cooper? I'm talking about people that want to do her book, people that want to sign her for a show, people that want to sign her for speeches. But the broader conversation that's going to be really interesting, and I think this is, again, it's broader, so it's not even specifically about Daily Wire, but people are kind of debating, you know, if this is what the Daily Wire is doing, and it looks like it perhaps is. And if I'm speaking wrongly here, we're going to find out shortly, obviously. But if we are having this former or this maid of honor take over her show, is that going to work? And that is really interesting because, you know, podcasting is a unique space. It is very personal. It's a new medium. When podcasting exploded, I think largely we can attribute that to Joe Rogan. Obviously, Daily Wire was one of the first companies to sort of try to carve out the space of podcasting and say, we're going to house a bunch of podcasters. I would say the Daily Wire and the Blaze kind of hit the ground running. And I think that nobody has really stopped to consider, can you just do that like late night TV? Can you do that like The View, where you can just keep swapping hosts and go, okay, well, now it's going to be the comment section with someone else. Is the audience going to like that? Or is the audience going to reject that? Now, if I'm just guessing, if this is my company and I'm running it, I'm going, no, I think podcasting is too personal. I think people sign up for a YouTube channel because they're signing up for that person. It remains to be seen. Obviously, they haven't done this yet. This will be an experiment for them. But I do think it starts a conversation about what it says about both Brett and the Daily Wire if they do it. Like, I think if I'm instructing what I would do, I would just create an entirely new show if you're going to bring in new talent. Otherwise, it kind of feels like, okay, well, is this just all scripted? Is that the real Brett Cooper? Did she just train to do this show and that's not actually her personality? I'm asking these questions. I know the answer to this. Obviously, it is her personality. That is very much Brett's personality behind the scenes. This is how she talks. She's very bubbly and very excited. So I don't know if that's like the message that you want to send, that we can just like train someone else like a monkey to do the exact same thing rather than just create a whole new show around somebody else. Also, she's super young. She's got just a lot of gas left into the tank. She's going to be everywhere in 2025. So we just want to wish her a
Cooper's rendition of Snow White has not only reigned united love for the classic tale, but also exposed the risks of straying too far from its core. The backlash against Zegler has intensified because Cooper's approach proves that audiences are still deeply connected to traditional storytelling and resistant to unnecessary changes. Why does Rachel Zegler view Brett Cooper's portrayal as a threat, and how does this reflect on her own comments about the original Snow White?
I like the beginning.
In time, a prince would come. Once upon a time, but now that time
Brings me back to my childhood.
is gone.
No freaking way! No! Yo! Brett Cooper?
No way. Hold on. So Brett Cooper, if you were watching this, Isaac cried.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of millions of men that cried.
Yeah.
But Isaac is one of them. But this says Snow White and the Evil Queen coming Bentkey. I guess that's like the production company they have.
No, that's their new children's program. So Daily Wire just released an entire children's section.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But it's coming in 2024, which the other Snow White movie is supposed to come in 2024 as well.
She's so hot.
Is she?
I'm a narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Rachel Zegler may perceive Brett Cooper's portrayal of Snow White as a threat because Cooper's faithful interpretation directly challenges Zegler's modernized vision, exposing the controversial aspects of her approach. Cooper's performance, rooted in deep respect for the original story and its timeless values, stands in stark contrast to Zegler's dismissal of the 1937 classic as outdated and creepy. This sharp divergence not only invites unfavorable comparisons, but also weakens Zegler's efforts to redefine the character, potentially leaving her defensive and uncertain. While Zegler's version of Snow White emphasizes independence and leadership, rejecting the romantic and traditional themes central to the original tale, Cooper's portrayal reaffirms the enduring appeal of those very elements. By embracing Snow White's innocence, kindness, and belief in love, Cooper has tapped into the nostalgia and affection of fans who cherish the story's legacy. For Zegler, this contrast poses a significant challenge, highlighting just how far her interpretation strays from what many fans hold dear. The debate over Snow White into a broader cultural battleground, where differing views on storytelling, tradition, and modernization collide. For Zegler, the controversy is not just about her performance, but about the larger conversation surrounding Hollywood's approach to classic tales. Her vision of Snow White as an independent leader reflects contemporary shifts in storytelling, yet the backlash suggests that many fans still crave the warmth, innocence, and romantic themes that define the original. Cooper's interpretation, by embracing these traditional elements, positions her as a counterpoint to Hollywood's trend of reinterpreting beloved stories through a modern lens. As a result, the divide between the two portrayals has sparked discussions about whether classic narratives should be preserved or updated to fit modern sensibilities, with Zegler facing heightened scrutiny over how her approach aligns, or conflicts, with audience expectations. Standing with audiences. Rather than elevating her own interpretation, her dismissive remarks toward Cooper's portrayal may reinforce the idea that she is out of touch with the sentimental attachment many fans have to the classic story. Cooper's success, on the other hand, demonstrates that a faithful adaptation can still resonate, undermining the argument that Snow White needed a drastic reinvention. This dynamic places Zegler in a difficult position. While she aims to modernize the character, the positive reception of Cooper's portrayal suggests that audiences may not be as eager for change as she anticipated. As a result, the contrast between the two actresses has not only intensified the debate over Snow White's legacy, but also highlighted the broader cultural divide between preserving tradition and embracing reinvention in Hollywood, and unwilling to acknowledge the enduring appeal of the classic tale. As Cooper continues to receive praise for her faithful interpretation, Zegler's modernized approach appears increasingly at odds with fan sentiment. This widening gap not only intensifies scrutiny on Zegler, but also fuels the perception that she is more focused on reshaping the character to fit a personal agenda rather than respecting its legacy. In contrast, Cooper's ability to connect with audiences by embracing Snow White's traditional qualities positions her as the more authentic steward of the role. Ultimately, the ongoing debate highlights the larger cultural divide between those who seek to preserve classic storytelling and those who advocate for radical reinterpretations, with Zegler caught in the crossfire of shifting audience expectations.
Somebody tweeted out and said, "I like learning about the Snow White movie and realizing that Peter Dinklage took roles away from hardworking actors who have dwarfism so that he can pretend that he helped others by bitching." And then another person said, "Hey Snow White fans, if you were looking forward to the new live-action Snow White and don't know the whole story, you can thank Peter Dinklage for this. He felt threatened by anybody his height getting a dwarf role because people might realize that he is overrated." So obviously, I had to look into this. I did a little Google searching, and I found this article from 2022. Peter Dinklage says the seven dwarfs are an insult, but the reality is more complex. So the article says, during a conversation regarding Disney's upcoming live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dinklage praised Disney for casting a Latina actress as Snow White, but condemned them for continuing to present what he believed were outdated stereotypes. Now, this interview happened in January of 2022. It was published in February, but this happened in January. The article goes on, and they quote Dinklage saying, "Literally, no offense to anything." No, you're taking offense. But I was sort of taking it.
And there you have it. Rachel Zegler versus Brett Cooper, a clash of visions and ideologies. Zegler's sharp criticism of Cooper's Snow White may stem from insecurity or the fear of being overshadowed, while Cooper's faithful portrayal has resonated with audiences, exposing weaknesses in Zegler's modernized approach. But this debate isn't just about two actresses. It's a broader cultural battle between tradition and innovation, nostalgia and reinvention. Will Disney's Snow White crumble under the weight of controversy? Or will the Daily Wire's classic take prove that timeless storytelling still reigns supreme? Let us know where you stand in the comments. Are you Team Zegler or Team Cooper? Don't hold back. And if you love unfiltered takes on Hollywood's biggest showdowns, make sure to subscribe to Woke Informant for more deep dives into the entertainment industry's wildest controversies.